Hi, so if you watched my last video, you will have heard me say that I'm going to give you my responses to some typical common gatekeeper objections. I'm going to give you a few because you could use a number of different responses to each of these based on things like your feel for the conversation, i.e. how much rapport you have with that gatekeeper, the company, what type of company it is, if it's very corporate or if it's very laid back, and the person yourself as well, what fits with you as an individual. Remember, this is the stuff that I would say, so just make sure that whatever it is fits with you and you're fresh, all right, and make sure you're comfortable with saying it. So the first example objection is this a sales call? Now, if you want to start with your response straight away to qualify at this point, then you could say something like, it is. Do you get a lot of them regards, okay? So, or if you wanted to be a little bit forward and cheeky and maybe break the ice a little, you could say something like, yes it is, you were quick to recognize that, did I make it obvious? Or you could be really direct to the point and you could say, yes it is, I'm quite interested to talk to you guys because I did do a little research before I called and I have a few questions for you. I wonder if you could help me with those. So any of those above or similar will help you to build rapport whilst being honest and fresh. Now, honest is key here. You'll notice that each of those responses was, yes, it is a cold call. I wasn't trying to avoid the question. I wasn't trying to go undercover or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with making a cold call. Everybody does it. So just admit it and be honest. You know what? There's very few salespeople that admit that. So actually that would contribute to you being fresh, different, honest. I'm sure they'd like that. Okay, so that's that one. The next one that I've got for you is, what are you calling about? Now, there is really only one answer to that, but the endings can be different. Again, largely based on what you already know about the business from your research or previous conversations. So I might say something like, well, it's about sales training. Do you know if you've had any sales training recently? Or I might say, it's about bespoke training. Who usually looks after that for you? I could say, it's about sales training. I read on your website that you value investing in your people, so I thought that you would be the ideal type of business that I would like to speak to. Once again, you will see that there's no reason to avoid the question. I'm being honest, I'm just telling them, just be fresh, right? And let them know what it's about. There's no point trying to avoid it. Another example of the other objection I got listed was, can you send an email to This is straightforward. There's only one answer, yes. Yes, you can. Of course I can, unless you haven't got the facility to do it, by the way. But if you have got the facility to send an email, then the answer is yes, of course I can. Can you give me their email, please? It's a great in to get their email, isn't it? Of course I can. Can I just check I've got the right email address for them? No problem at all. Do they prefer email or shall I send them a message on LinkedIn or even a text message? What's best? If they say send it to a generic email address, I sometimes ask them who that goes to, and if I've built up a good enough rapport with the gatekeeper, then I will ask them if they don't mind if I send it to them instead to make sure that the DM actually gets it. You'll see that I'm applying everything here that I told you in my last video, so if you haven't seen that last video, do go back and watch it. Okay, the next example I've got is, they're not in the office today. This is now going into statements, so they're not in the office today. This is actually a great conversation starter for you because you can ask a number of questions related to your response. Oh, okay, are they working from home? And right now this is plausible because of the current climate. My next questions following that would be things like the best number to get hold of them, the best time to get hold of them, how often do they come in? There's a number of questions that you can ask to qualify your requirements with the gatekeeper at that point. Another objection that I've got listed as an example is they won't take cold calls. Okay, this is actually my personal pet hate because every business will have an outbound sales operation of some form. So to not take cold calls is quite hypocritical of them. So what I really want to say is something different to what I'm going to tell you to say because we have to be professional about this. So what I might say professionally is something like, okay, no problem. Do they respond to any other method of approach? Also give the gatekeeper some empathy, because they probably find it difficult trying to tell people that they don't take cold calls too. You could say, I totally appreciate your position here, and that's fine. So I was just calling to see if it's worth me bugging them. Can you just help me a little by telling me da-da-da, and start asking questions? Another example objection I got was, we already have a supplier. Okay, and this one is easy because it narrows down your qualifying process considerably, and it allows you to go straight in to a better understanding of the situation and actually deeper questions. Okay, so you might have missed out things like, oh, okay, I might have missed out there then. So do you know how long you've had that particular supplier? Or then you can continue with your questions, say things like, how long have you been with them? You can ask questions about budget, when do you review the budget? Do you generally change? Have you renewed contracts with them? There's so many different questions that you can ask. You can also maybe say to them, do you know what? Could I just talk to you a little bit about what we do? Because it'd be interesting to see if they do the same as what we do. Maybe you can identify the differences or similarities for me, so we can see if it's worth my chasing up anymore. All right, so those are kinds of things I'd say to that one. Now, I'm going to give you a bonus one in this video because of the current climate, and I believe this is something that people come up against quite a lot. We have no budget for this right now. So my response would be, look, I totally understand. Remember, you've got to empathize. Okay, so I would say, I totally understand. Do you know if you're looking to review that budget anytime soon? Or you could say, yep, that's understandable. Is that due to the current climate? You see, don't assume just because of COVID they're doing this. It could be other reasons, and you need to find out, because you may have an in sooner rather than later. Okay, you'll see that each of my responses in all of these examples I've given you of what I would say to objections ends with a question. And I did that on purpose. And I'm hoping you know why, because I have said it quite a lot in my previous videos. So I'm going to ask you to please comment below as to what you think is the reason that I've ended each of my responses with a question. That's it. I hope this helps you. I will do more of this. I'd be happy to do more of this. I'd be happy to take your objections live once I've figured out a good time to stream live. Actually, you might be able to help me there. Let me know when's a good time of day for you. But when you do, just give me a time zone with it so I know whereabouts you are. Okay, that's it. Again, thank you for watching and for subscribing. Do stay safe, and I look forward to speaking to you again.